Please note that the views expressed on this program are those of the individuals who speak them, and not necessarily those of Portsmouth Community Radio, its Board of Trustees, members, volunteers, or underwriters. Good evening and welcome to Spirit Radio. I am your host, Willie Hassell. Along with my co-host, Lynn Nickerson, we will take you on a journey into the unknown, where the paranormal becomes the normal. A journey to a world cloaked in darkness, where reality becomes a thin veil. So sit back, relax, and join us as we venture into the shadows, the darkness, the unknown, and back. And good evening once again, and welcome to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. I am your host, Willie Hassell, your gatekeeper to the dark side, your guide to the realm of the unknown, the unseen, the unthinkable. And she is always the lovely, she is the mystical, she is the mysterious. And she is Lynn Nickerson.
Good evening, Willie. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing tonight?
Great. Gatekeeper to the dark side, huh?
Well, yeah, the gatekeeper to the dark side. Hey, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I know. You know what I mean? You just love it.
I don't know. I just kind of fell into it. I think I got elected or something. So, what do you think? We have a guest tonight in the studio, don't we?
We do. We have company tonight.
Yes, I can tell because I can see them over there.
That's your first clue.
That is my.
They might even speak, and then you'll really know for sure.
Yeah, no, maybe, but I'm going to introduce them first, and then they can speak.
All right.
So this week on Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience, it is our pleasure to welcome our good friends Mike Stevens and Valerie Lafaso to the show. Val and Mike are two of the founders of Seacoast Sources of New England, which is a group dedicated to the research and investigation of UFO and alien contact. Seacoast Sources provides a safe environment for all those who have or think they may have had some sort of contact with extraterrestrials. Tonight, Mike and Val are joining us here in the studio to talk about some of their personal experiences as well as the mission and future of Seacoast Sources. So with that, let us welcome to the show Val Lafaso and Mike Stevens. Good evening.
Welcome, guys.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure.
Nice to have you here. And before we get started, I do want to mention that since they're in studio, we have an open phone line. If you want to call in and ask a question.
Yeah, why don't you mention that? Yeah.
You want me to give out the
number?
Yeah,
why don't you do that?
603-430-9722. Give us a call. Okay.
What was that number again?
603-430-9722.
Okay, good.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Keep those phone calls coming.
Carry on.
Well, we are very lucky to have Val and Mike in the studio today with us. And we met them just about 3 years ago now, although did you start attending before February of 2013?
You're testing my memory?
Well, I did. So it's been it'll be 3 years next month. And, we made acquaintances at the KRI Center for Consciousness Studies, and we continue to participate in the meetings there. And initially, my personal intention in joining was to find like-minded people to discuss ghost and paranormal activities with. But I feel that in joining this group, I hit the jackpot.
You hit the jackpot.
Really, because there are so many interesting people there, and everyone's got a broad range of interests, and we're able to cover a lot of ground in the strange, the paranormal, and the unexplained. And luckily for us, Mike and Val decided to start a group that exclusively focuses on extraterrestrial experiences, be it sightings, or if you have questions, or if there has been contact of any order. And I say of any order because there's, contact of the third kind, the fourth kind, and whatnot. So I can't wait to start picking your brain, your brains, comma, plural. Well, what was the impetus of this particular group, since KRI had social saucers and they were already discussing this? So why is it that you decided to spearhead this new group and go in a little bit different direction?
With
Social Saucers, it was an open discussion group, and we did cover some of the abduction stuff here or there, but it was more like an overview. It wasn't really helpful for anybody if they had the experience. It was more just telling people what the experiences were.
So at least it is educational, but I guess it didn't give people the opportunity to discuss personally there. It really wasn't, there wasn't enough time. It's only like an hour and a half. So that was a good direction to go in. So both of you have been experiencers, right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, what I would like to know to begin with is just recently you went on a little excursion to the mountains of New Hampshire, and some interesting things happened. Could you briefly give us a summary of what happened there?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
So it began as a closed event group called Contact Circles, where we would do, there was a select group of us who would do a meditation with the intent of reaching out to benevolent extraterrestrial beings. After quite a few months of doing this, we decided to take it outside and really put it to the test. We'd had some good experiences just in-house doing these meditations. So we took it out to the mountains. There was no particular reason for the place that we went to. It just happened to be the available spot. It was up in Jackson, New Hampshire. So it was a hike up the mountain, and there was a cabin on this hill that we stayed in. We had multiple experiences right from the start that, weren't necessarily extraterrestrial, but just was...
just odd.
Yes. As a medium, I felt that we were being followed up the hill on our hike by some type of nature spirits, just watching us and seeing what we're doing and tagging along, I guess, and probably laughing at us as we huffed and puffed our way up the mountain.
And was it still light when you were hiking up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we hiked up middle of the day, just after lunchtime.
Okay.
Soon after we reached the top where the cabin was, we decided to go down to the spring so we could get some fresh water.
Did you purify that, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Just checking, huh?
Yeah, just checking.
Okay.
And that was when I heard music.
Really?
I did. It was drumming music, kind of so faint that I could hear it, but as soon as I mentioned it to somebody to
tried to
listen,
focus,
you couldn't hear it
there
anymore. We thought it, we're trying to think, well, there's houses. It could have been a house nearby. It could have been, somebody's cell phone, because we left cell phones up at the cabin. It could have been making music, whatever. So,
what was the genre, though? Was it like dance music? Was it like more like Native American music?
Looking back, it was just tonal music with some drumming.
Okay.
So we couldn't explain it. We didn't know exactly what it was. Went back up to the cabin, settled in, had our dinner, and got ready for the sky watch of the night. We had a pretty good view right from the front of the cabin, where we sat for probably a good couple hours, where not a whole lot happened. We saw some flashes in the sky. We saw satellites and shooting stars. We heard more music. Other people heard at that time, not just me, which was good. But it was interesting. It was coming from the direction of the spring.
Really?
Yeah.
How many people were on this excursion?
There were 4 of us.
Four of you?
Yes. Myself, Mike, and 2 other people. So we were getting pretty tired. We were tired after the hike, and Mike asked myself and one of the other people with us, who's also a medium, to, tap into our guides and find out, is anything going to happen? Should we just give up? And both of us were told, your patience will be rewarded.
Really? You both were?
Yes. And within 10 minutes, it had to be less than 10 minutes, I saw something just to the right of a tree that was kind of blocking part of our view, was something that I can only describe it as a little bit larger than a star, and it consistently rotated, flashing red, green, and white. And after watching it for, just a few seconds, I called it to the attention of everybody else, saying, is that a planet? Do planets do that? Is that normal? And that was when it started moving, when they all focused in on it. And it danced in the sky in ways I've never seen anything move before. It was amazing. We were scared, we were excited, and we were transfixed. And we watched it dance for 45 minutes.
What kind of movements was it making? Like going up and down?
Up,
in circles,
down,
and
around,
going-
zigzags, triangles. It was
Truly, it was dancing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's.
something that couldn't possibly have been a plane or anything like that.
I've never seen a normal aircraft move that way.
And actually, when planes did go by, this thing would stop moving, and it would
And pretend it was a star.
yeah, it would
It
dim
would.
down to a white light until the plane was out of sight, and then it would start flashing and moving again.
It did that twice.
That's pretty bizarre.
Yes.
I've got to ask you, Willie and I've spotted some things out to Willie in the sky, and it's my thought that there are like guardian ships out there hovering and keeping tabs on what's happening here on Earth. That's just my feeling, but I suspect that strongly. And I've often seen these lights in the sky, and usually it's basically white, and it's got like a red flashing backlight to it and a blue light sort of to the right-hand side. I've never seen the green. That's interesting that you see the green. So you're sure it was green there?
I mean, I wouldn't swear to it in court, I guess. It's perspective. It could have been,
Yeah.
It was kind of foggy that night, so who knows? It could have been more of a blue, but it looked green to me.
Because I see red, white, and blue when I see these
Right.
things. Did it appear to have a black flashing light? Or something that was... Usually it's something on the left-hand side of it that flashes.
I don't remember
You don't remember?
seeing anything like that.
Okay.
One other interesting thing that did happen while we were all watching it, we had another tree that kind of split the horizon line that we were watching. And I guess the other three people, Mike and the two other people, were kind of not looking directly at that light at the time when I saw something red shoot off the side of it and go straight over the other way. But they all saw the other side of the sky light up red when that happened.
The opposite side.
Yeah,
The direction
there
that
was one tall
yeah.
tree. So from our perspective, Val was all the way to the left, so she had her view, and then there was a tree, and then that's kind of where the rest of us saw it from, was the other side of the tree. So she kind of saw something shoot out of it, and then to our perspective, all we saw was the sky light up red and flash of like lightning.
Wow.
Like red lightning, huh?
Yeah, without a
basically.
bolt.
Yeah.
But the whole sky
Yeah,
just
kind of
like
like heat lightning, only red, you mean?
Yes.
Sort of
Yeah.
like that. Wow.
Well, being as psychic as you are, were you getting any impressions at that time that they were trying to maybe communicate goodwill? Not that I
Well,
want to put ideas in your head,
No,
but
no, no. And you're not, because actually, one member of our group has had some experiences that, when things like this happen, causes, some nervous feelings. So I tapped in to find out, okay, is this something here for our highest good? And I got positive reactions that yes, this was something that was there to show us that we're paying attention to what you're doing. We know what you're doing, and we want you to know that we like what you're doing. It was one of those experiences that it wasn't meant for us to be able to prove anything to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It was a personal experience for us to know what happened.
and it elicited some kind of joy.
Yes.
I think it was very pleasurable in them conveying that their pleasure with you, being interested.
Yes, it was nice to get confirmation
Yes.
in a very big way, and we did ask for it to do other big things. We're trying to get it to do more, because when you have an experience, you want more.
Truly.
The only thing we got it to do was do kind of a loop in the sky. We were collectively trying to get it to move in a circle because it was always kind of jagged. It wasn't
Yeah.
doing circles, so we asked it to do a circle, and it kind of did more of a teardrop, but it was pretty soon after we all collectively asked for this, so I don't believe in coincidences, so I
No.
thought that was interesting.
So it was all a positive experience for you.
Yes.
Very, very good experience.
Yes.
Shannon didn't go, did she?
She was there, yes.
She was there,
She
okay.
was one of the four.
Did any of you get an idea of maybe what group this was, what race it might have been?
I didn't even think to ask.
Okay.
I just knew that it wasn't there to harm us, and that was
Yeah.
really all I wanted to know.
Oftentimes it seems that the Pleiadians are very interested in us, but I was wondering, Greys, Pleiadians, who are these entities that are interested? And, there's so many. I think that there's a variety out there, so I was just kind of curious what flavor was out there that night.
Right. I agree, but at the time it was...
Didn't occur to you?
No, it wasn't.
How about you, Mike? Did you feel anything?
I was the poor guy she described who had some previous experiences and was nervous. She picked the wrong guy to sit next to. Being an empath, my knee was bouncing uncontrollably. I was nervous. I was
Are
excited.
you an empath?
No, she is,
Oh,
and
okay.
she had to deal with it.
I didn't think you had empathic abilities, or they're real subtle.
There's a debate between us about it.
But you didn't pick up anything, huh?
No,
You were startled? More than startled?
I was just wondering if this was going to go badly quickly.
Oh, but it didn't.
No.
It didn't.
No. Well, then, didn't you get a feeling later on during the evening that you might have connected with a Bigfoot?
Actually, yes. It was... So after we watched that light for about 45 minutes. Once it faded away, some clouds moved in. We waited for maybe another 15 or 20 minutes before we all said, okay, it's done. It's not coming back. Let's go to bed. And within half an hour of going to bed, it was a pretty open cabin, so we could kind of, we could hear every noise each other made. I heard Mike get up, and I thought, okay, maybe he's got to do something, go smoke, go to the bathroom, whatever. So I waited for a few minutes, and I could tell he was just standing there. So I got up and, to see
Standing there outside or inside?
Outside in the center of the cabin in like a common area. So I went to see if he was okay, and that was when he told me he heard something large brush up against the back corner where his part of, where his bunk was.
They like you, Mike.
Yeah, I guess so. I was pretty sure. I mean, we had to hike everything in and hike it out, so the trash was still in there. I was waiting for a bear to come through that window.
Oh, yeah, because there are the natural things that can be scary.
Right, absolutely. Yeah,
And
but...
You did go on another excursion up north.
Yes.
For
That
Bigfoot,
was about a month before this one. I don't think the thing that we contacted that time was a Bigfoot, but this time, I think only because I heard it. He heard it first, and then I stepped kind of over that way to see if I could hear anything, and I heard what sounded like a very large furry body brushing against the building, and we had a trap camera outside pointing at that part of the cabin, and it didn't capture anything.
Really?
That's kind of odd. It didn't fire.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we thought too.
Well, yeah, you probably did pick up on that. Yeah.
Well, there is a theory out there that some people suspect that they're interdimensional, so it could be that part of it was there, but not visually detectable.
Right.
Well, unless the camera just plain malfunctioned, if it was a bear.
Absolutely.
It would have got
could be.
it,
It could be explainable.
Yeah.
But intuitively, I feel like it was something else, letting us know that.
Was there anything out there that had changed, that had been touched,
I don't think
disturbed?
so.
No, everything looked the same.
Okay. So during the evening, do you feel that anything else happened during the evening once
Not-
you finally went to bed again?
No, not during that evening. No, I didn't.
No, I mean, by the time we had waited to see anything, saw it, went to bed, got back up, dealt with that, actually went back to bed after hiking up. We were all pretty exhausted. If something did, we were wiped. We wouldn't have known.
Yeah, that a long hike up there. Mike, between the two of you, you're probably the most pronounced experiencer, can I say? Can you give us an indication of something that you feel like talking about, of your experience? Like you had mentioned lights, you had mentioned blue lights before. Can you tell us a little bit about what you might have experienced? That might have been the impetus for you starting this group and to be empathetic toward those who have had experiences?
Yeah, I mean, my experiences, or my first experience that I really recalled, I was about 3 or 4. So
Really?
I've been dealing with it for a long time, and I'd never had anybody to turn to, and that was kind of why I started Social Saucers originally, was
That was your
talk
baby
about
too?
that. Yeah,
Oh,
and then I
okay.
turned that over to Chuck,
Okay.
and then with part of the reasoning to turn it over to Chuck was to start the Encounters group and bring that in with Seacoast Saucers.
Well, from the age of 3 or even just as a child, what were some of your memories?
The first big one was at my grandmother's house in Southampton. And there was a family function of some sort going on because everybody, all my aunts, uncles, whatever, everybody was there. And it was night out. I don't know what like time or anything. It was dark. And I remember just this feeling of being like called to go outside, that we had to get outside.
And you had gone to bed?
I think we were still up, or the adults were still up, but I think the kids might have been in bed or in the back, or I'm not exactly sure, especially at that age. But me and my cousin, who's roughly my age, ended up in the driveway, and from the woods behind the house, they like lit up red, like there was a forest fire. And this craft rose up from behind the tree line and
So
made
you
its way
saw
up towards.
that?
Yeah, it came probably with, I don't know, probably like 40 feet in the air, 100 feet from us.
About what year was that?
Would have been 82, 83.
Okay, early 80s. Okay.
There was like it was your, for lack of a better description, your typical saucer-shaped craft. It, looked like a saucer, silvery, reflective, chrome-like, with a band of lights around the middle of it. And they changed colors, but they didn't seem like like individual light bulbs. It kind of just naturally flowed from one color to the next.
Okay, yeah. And what was the color combinations?
A lot like the orange, red, yellow hues.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was around the center of it?
Yeah. And then at one point, you could, when you open your car door, how an interior light comes on, something like that happened. You could see like little squares of light up above that row of lights. And you could make out shapes of something. They looked humanish, but you couldn't like make out any details.
And did you, throughout your older childhood, did you still have recall of that, or was that brought out at a later time?
That was always a standing memory. I've gone back
Really?
into hypnosis and gotten more detail,
Okay.
but that was always a standing memory.
What I find outstanding about that is my family grew up in the East Kingston area, and our experience was the red UFOs. And that was actually the 60s. And I hadn't heard so much of the red lights being part of the sightings in the 80s. But it's interesting that you say that, because I find it to be corroborating evidence. A family member of mine had been out walking from a friend's house, and he swears that a UFO chased him, and it was out in the middle of the woods. It was actually a huge potato field, and he said that the field was blood red, and it kept dodging to try and chase him, and there were lines of trees, and he managed to stay away from, at least he thinks he did, to stay away from the UFO, and I still feel that some kind of contact might have happened there. So that was his story, and mine was that I had woken up one night and saw a squadron of UFOs up in the sky. They appeared to be static, like they were stationary, but they were all blood red. They were all just red, and they were the typical saucer-shaped UFOs. So it's interesting that that's what your recall was. And did things change over the years? As far as what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it, my perspective of what was happening changed. For a while, they were bad, they were evil. This was,
You didn't understand it, and you were a child, and
I kept that and the fear. I mean, I still struggle with the fear sometimes, but now I'm into a more spiritual understanding of things and stuff, and through that and the meditations we do to contact things that are not necessarily here for bad purposes, it's like people, some have good intentions,
There are
some
different
don't.
agendas. Yeah, I really do think that's the case too. All right, well, getting back to your in-house meditations, what transpired when you did those?
We've had things from losing time. As a group,
That's interesting.
We lost 45 minutes.
45.
45 minutes.
That I didn't realize. I didn't know it had been that long. I thought it was maybe 10 minutes.
No, it was about 45, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. We have group images, that will come out of the meditations, and we'll all have seen similar
you'll
things.
Talk about it.
Right.
And can you mention what some of that was?
A lot of it is just shapes or places. Shannon and I have seen very similar landscapes.
Like what? As in extraterrestrial or
Yes,
Earth?
extraterrestrial
Really?
landscapes where there's pyramids and domes and multiple moons in the sky.
Really?
Things like that. What am I missing? I know there's more.
Just a lot of similarities. Like Shannon got involved with this to she didn't necessarily not believe in it, but she wasn't really big into it. She's not well read on the subject. She couldn't tell you who somebody from a case was or any of that stuff. And we'd do the meditation, we'd come up, we'd all write in our notebooks what everybody experienced.
That's a good idea, and then discuss it.
And then we'd share.
Yeah.
And Shannon would start, just going through some stuff. She's like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is kind of weird or whatever. And Chuck, who's also the third co-founder of
Chuck
Seacoast
Credo.
Saucers,
Yep.
starts pulling out his phone because that's Chuck, and instantly, just showing her, see, this is that's commonly reported in abduction cases. That's commonly reported with encounters and all this stuff. And we kind of broke Shannon's brain.
Yeah, it freaked her out to
I bet.
see things that hundreds of other people have seen in alien encounters.
But the landscapes.
Yeah, those are odd.
What did the landscapes look like?
It's usually like a rosy, sandy color, like when you'd see a desert at sunset. That's how I always see it. Very barren.
And barren.
Yeah.
Think it might be Mars?
I'm not sure. I'm not a great question asker when I'm doing these things. So
Yeah, but
that's
in
a great
reflection-
question. I just have never thought to ask, where am I? Other than I know I'm not home. I'm not in Kansas anymore.
And is it usually just you? I mean, just you as far as perceiving the landscape around? Is there anything there?
I've seen beings there.
You have?
Yes. I've seen
Of what ilk?
grays, and I've seen
you.
like mantis type.
Really?
Yeah, that's mostly what I see.
Wow.
Wow.
Well,
All right.
I'm going to have to mull this over, and we should probably take a break here. We're at the bottom of the hour.
This might be just as good a time as any.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay, well, why don't we do that?
We're talking with Valerie Lafaso and Mike Stevens of Social Saucers of New England, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Supernatural Magazine, the UK's newest paranormal magazine, provides support to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. It is the magazine's goal to bring every aspect of supernatural news and research from around the world under one roof to create a universal platform for all those interested in the supernatural. More information is available at supernaturalmagazine.com. You are listening to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience on WSCA 106.1 FM, and we'll be right back after this short break.
tuned to WSCA 106.1 FM in Portsmouth's West End. And from the community calendar, speaking of the KRI Center for Consciousness Studies, the KRI Center is pleased to present Understanding Paranormal Mechanics with Shane Sawar. Shane has been helping families and individuals for over 25 years. He has a rare 100% success rate, getting rid of nasty parasitic hauntings. His understanding of the mechanics of what allows a haunt is untouched. Shane gets called in when other investigators and clergy fall short. Be sure and join for a rare glimpse into the area of the paranormal that Shane understands like no other. That is next Saturday, January 23rd at 4 p.m. at the KRI Center in Stratham, New Hampshire. Cost is by donation. And for more information, contact the KRI Center at 603-772-9300. And some upcoming guests.
Yes, our upcoming guest list starts with January 23rd, and it looks like we have sort of some bias going on here with the KRI Center, because Andy Kitt's going to be our guest on the 23rd, and he's author and founder of the KRI Center for Consciousness Studies in nearby Stratham, New Hampshire, and he'll be here in the studio to talk about the new program scheduled at the Institute, the initiative, I should say, including some of the upcoming speakers and workshops, such as Shane Sawar, who's going to be speaking next Saturday. All right, January 30th, we're welcoming back Reverend Betty Comerford and her writing and investigative partner, Reverend Steve Wilson, who once again will join us in our studio to assist those who suspect that they might have empathic abilities. This information can be found in their jointly written book, The Reluctant Empath. February 6th, Sarah Sutherland is another one of those people dogged by her psychic experiences. Her book, Haunted by the Abyss, is a first-hand account of encounters with a demonic force, aliens, spirits from a Missouri cemetery, and a whole lot more. On February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, Richard Estep, who's a transplant from the UK, presently living in Colorado, will return again to discuss his new release, The World's Most Haunted Hospitals, True Life Paranormal Encounters in Asylums, Hospitals, and Institutions. And maybe one more, February 20th. Once again, through the magic of fiber optics, we're hosting Steve Parsons from the UK, who is regarded as one of the foremost investigators of the paranormal. He holds classes on ghosts and has now organized the principles of his teachings in a book titled Ghostology, his latest release. And that wraps up our upcoming guest list.
Okay, and so right now we're going to go back to tonight's guest in the studio from Seacoast Sources of New England, Valerie Lafaso and Mike Stevens. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
So we were talking... Oh, go ahead.
Well, we don't want to keep him waiting too long.
Oh, that's right. Andy's on the phone. All right.
Speaking of the KRI Center in Stratham, and speaking of next week's guest, Andy Kitt, he is on the phone right now, and he would like to ask a question. Hello, Andy. You're on the air.
Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Welcome.
I wasn't aware that the time loss from your incident was 45 minutes.
Yeah,
Are there any plans, or has anybody tried to either meditate or regress into those 45 minutes to find out what happened?
No, kind of like the mountain experience. We took it as, we didn't feel that anything negative had happened, so we kind of took it for what it was and as a sign that we were in the right direction and kept moving forward.
So curiosity did not overwhelm you the way it does me to say, wow, wouldn't it be cool to find out?
Don't you actually leave the building in fear when we hold that event, Mr. Curiosity?
Okay. I will step back on that one then. Like I say, I was just it struck me when I heard you on the broadcast to say 45 minutes. I also thought it was something like 10 minutes or 12
Yeah.
minutes. So it was surprising to hear that length of time.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and one thing that we have found with these meditations is, as willing as they are to contact us, they're not always extremely forthcoming with information as to the whys of things. So.
Well, alrighty then. Thank
Okay.
you.
So does that sort of answer your question?
Yes,
A little bit?
yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you for the call, Andy.
All right, Andy, we will see you here next week.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Thanks
All
for the
right.
call. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right.
So do you suppose you might consider meditating on what that was about?
I suppose it can't hurt. But like Mike said, I think it was, I think we know it was about, it was an experience that we had as a group and it was early on. It was like our second week doing it, that it was a big event and kind of said, you guys are doing the right thing. Keep going.
Okay, so what was the first clue that much time had passed? Who noticed it?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering. How did you realize that you had lost 45 minutes?
I was
what
looking
happened?
at the clock, and I was just dumbfounded, staring at it, trying to figure out. I couldn't quite place that anything was wrong yet, but I was kind of staring at the clock. And then Val caught me staring at the clock, and she looked at the clock and realized that it was pretty late all of a sudden.
Yeah, it was far too late for the amount of activity that we had done, because we know how long the track is that we meditate to, and we know how it takes a few minutes to write stuff down in our journals.
So it wasn't entirely in an altered state, like being oblivious to everything. You were kind of aware of time. I mean, you were doing physical things, so you were moving. So you had
think
sensory
so.
input, and
You thought you were aware of time, but then realized that
That it was 45 minutes later than it should have been.
And how many people participated that day? About
There was
4 or 6?
3 that day.
3? And Shannon was the other one?
Chuck.
Chuck was the other one.
Yep.
Did he have anything to say?
If you can believe it, Chuck was actually fairly quiet.
We love you, Chuck.
if you're listening, Chuck.
Okay. Well, I am still curious about the shapes and whatever it was that you saw during that meditation.
It's been such a variety of things, and we've been doing it for so long now that nothing surprises us anymore, I don't think.
You had mentioned something. This was a while ago, I think maybe about a year ago. I think it was when you started meditating with Shannon, and you had mentioned that you felt that there was energy in the room, and you felt that it was the Greys.
I've seen them many times doing these meditations. They come in
Around the KRI Center.
Yes, that's where we hold the
Okay.
contact circles meditation. They don't ever seem to bother me. We have this. The center is energetically protected to allow only our spirit guides and loved ones and benevolent, beings into the room.
For the highest good
Right.
intended, yep. Ooh, okay then. Well then, my next point of curiosity is, of course, you've got this wonderful organization now that you assist people with, those that have felt they've been contacted and so forth. Without mentioning names, can you give us an idea of what you have dealt with when people have come to you with problems? What kind of problems have they presented to you regarding contact or sightings?
The biggest one, I think, is just having a place to talk about it or somebody to talk to. You guys are actually at Social Sauces last time when a man had seen something
Mike, yes.
in the 60s and
Yeah.
hadn't told anybody.
That was a really interesting story, and it was right around the same time of Betty and Barney Hill, and not the same year, but it was very close. It was in the 60s.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we haven't had a lot of issues or negativity surrounding the contact that, these experiencers that have come to us, mostly, like Mike said, it's just people that are looking for a place to go to where they can talk about it without being looked at, like they're crazy.
Like they've got two heads. But specifically, other than Mike, have there been others that presented some information to you that was really quite unusual?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had a lot of, different experiences and,
Or not just you, but I mean people that have come to you.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. The
Yeah.
people that have come have shared interesting experiences.
Okay, well, we're going to hold it right there for a second because Willie says we've got another person on the line.
We do have another call on the line, and I bet you can probably guess who it is.
Is it Chuck?
This is Chuck, and welcome to the show, Chuck.
Hello, Mr. Credo.
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Thanks for calling in.
How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I
Chuck?
think Valerie called me out a little, so I had to call in.
Did I?
We want your 5 cents worth. What is it?
Yeah, so, I mean, if you want to go back to the whole missing time thing, I can verify that that the event happened. I'm a little skeptical about it still, as you know me.
Sure.
It's hard for me. But I can tell you that a minimum of 15 minutes were unaccounted for, in my opinion. Anywhere up to maybe even a half an hour.
So even you are not quite decided on exactly what took place.
I'm going to say, to me, it feels a little odd. I don't like to admit it. I still think that there's maybe a rational explanation out there, you know me, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, did you have any sort of odd experience while you were in that altered state?
Well, I think Valerie and Mike touched a little bit about what we do during contact circles. You know, our intent is to reach out to, other things, otherworldly things, if you will, other dimensions or planes, whatever it is, with positive intent in mind. And, there have been multiple times, as Valerie and Mike have already shared, where we will journal after our meditation. And that way we all have written physical notes without talking about anything. So that way when we share our notes, when they start to match up, we can say, well, that's really hard to believe that we would have, talked about it and said, and this person was writing down what that person was saying, because we're not touching our journals after that point. But we have had very specific things from very specific, off-world creatures doing, like, very ritualistic, like, shaking of hands to certain people that people picked up on to, Val has shared a lot of this, but I just thought I would call in and give my 2 cents and kind of verify a little bit about what they're talking about.
A shaking of hands, sort of like an international feeling of goodwill?
Yes, we have had that experience, believe it or not.
Wow. You didn't mention that,
people
Val.
in the same
There's
room
so much
documenting
to remember.
Wow.
with the same number of creatures, doing the same type of, gestures and the same feeling involved. So very interesting stuff has happened. And I would highly encourage anybody that's listening right now, if you're interested in these things, please contact the KRI Center. We do a lot of great things there.
Oh,
Yes,
hands down.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
Yes.
No question about that.
It's a great opportunity for a lot of people, even just to put your heads together and commiserate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Chuck. That was a welcomed additive.
You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you for the
Thanks,
call.
Chuck.
Thank you for the call, Chuck.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a good night.
I had forgotten about that. I only vaguely remember it because generally I write stuff down in the journal because if I don't, it flies out of my head
Sure.
very fast. And there's so many different experiences that, and some touch, us in different ways, are more significant, so they're, fresher in our minds, I think, for some of us than others.
Yeah.
Like that obviously meant something to Chuck, more than it did me. Not that
Right.
it didn't mean something to me at the time, but it stuck in his mind and not so much in mine. But I'm sure I have it written down in my journal.
Well, you have these meditative circles, but do you typically have other people that join the group that have stories of their own to tell?
It comes and goes in waves.
Okay.
We've had people who have had experiences their whole life they're getting to a place where they're getting ready to look into it, but they're not necessarily struggling it. We've had people who've come who've had experiences their whole life, but have no complaints about it, so it's always been fine. We have some people who just say maybe, I don't really want to quite admit it yet, but maybe, I'm just kind of here to see what's what. And then we've heard some really strange stories too.
Yeah, we've had people that come in that, believe that in a past life they, were some creature from another planet. And that's actually pretty common for people to explore past lives and find themselves on other worlds.
That's right. I know. I've done some reading with Dolores Cannon, and she has regressed several people, and they tell of being on other planets. It isn't just Earth, where it's a life lesson. They get to go elsewhere. I just find that fascinating. And she mentions that some of the other planets were destroyed, and that it affected them so traumatically in this lifetime. I suppose there's neither here nor there, but let me see. Last year, did you speak at the UFO conference in Leominster, 2015?
No, we had a booth there, but we didn't speak.
Oh, okay. Did you have a question, Willie?
No, well, no, go
Yeah,
ahead. If
please.
You, are you
No, go ahead.
looking for... okay, Mike, I may be wrong about this, but haven't you actually had abduction experiences yourself?
Yes.
Is that something you want to talk about, or is that too...
We can talk briefly about it. I mean, I could probably go for an hour on it if...
Oh, we'd love to hear whatever you're willing to.
Well, you got 8 minutes. How's that?
Surprise us. With.
What would you want to hear?
Well, what was your first experience? At what age?
Probably that one from 3 or 4.
As an adult, how about as an adult?
As an adult, probably it's probably been 5 or probably a little longer than that. Just about 7 or 8 years since.
Well, what kind of messages are you getting as an adult? Of course, it's going to be different. Your concept, your point of reference is going to be different as an adult. So what's been happening with you as an adult?
It's more of a learning type atmosphere, except it's kind of like high school. I don't remember the lesson at the end of the day.
Really, you don't?
No, it's
at the end of the day, you're a terrible student.
That's kind of how I remember high school.
No, it's kind of like this was only a couple weeks ago. I woke up at like 3 in the morning, and I heard something whispering in my ear. But as I was hearing that, there was like an electric pulse in my chest too, and like a circle formation.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you suppose that was?
I don't try to figure it out.
What do you mean by a circle formation?
Like, that's where you could feel this pulsation.
Over your heart, then?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over your heart?
Yeah.
Well, in retrospect, did it leave you with a certain impression?
No, I tend to try to get back to normal as quick as possible after that. I keep the TV, I sleep with the TV on just so it's never completely dark, and have the remote usually in my hand half the time, and it's always queued up and clicking on cartoons back to something simple and non-stressful.
Yeah, just entertaining, pure entertainment. Do you feel, Mike, that perhaps you might have some kind of implant?
I've got a couple lumps in my leg that I don't know what they are,
Really?
but I was always a rough and tumble kid. I mean, it could be anything.
It could be scar tissue, but then again, maybe not.
Right.
How about your nose? Did you ever experience nosebleeds as a child?
Not some as an adult. I don't remember as a child.
You had mentioned seeing some strange lights in the backside of peas.
Yeah, we ended up talking with somebody who grew up on peas, and that ended up that was a mundane occurrence.
Oh, really?
When it is foggy, they will flash blue lights like that.
But they are really bright.
They're
white
intense.
lights. And Val, what was your feeling about that area in, is it Newington? A swampy area in Newington?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I thought it was Newington, maybe Greenland.
I can't recall.
Okay, I'll move on to
Sorry.
my next question. Maybe it was Stratham? A swampy, spooky area in Stratham?
They're all over the place. I
do
mean,
know, yeah.
Are you talking out behind the center? I know they've mentioned a few times.
No, Andy had
that.
mentioned that there was an area, and I thought it was maybe Stratham. I thought it was Stratham. Anyway, move on. New Hampshire used to have a chapter. What happened to that?
They combined them all into a New England chapter for a while, and I believe they have gone back into states now. But
Is Pete Jeremiah still part of that?
I'm not
You're not
sure. I
you're
don't
not sure.
think so. I know when they combined, a lot of the guys who had been in the state chapters for a long time kind of fell out and said it was time to retire.
Okay, because I wasn't aware that there wasn't a New Hampshire chapter anymore.
There might be again now. They've gone back to that, I believe.
What is Steve Fermani's position now?
He's just
Is he?
ufologist researcher now.
Oh,
He's-
okay. I thought he was a director or something of MUFON.
He was the director of New England MUFON when it was one entity.
Okay. So, do you guys have what can we take away from this program as far as
I think
what you've learned?
I think something that we really want to bring to the public, aside from being a safe place for people to go and safely talk about this with people who understand, is that we want to reduce the stigma around talking about it. You know, I've struggled with this for a long time myself, just being a paranormal researcher and a medium and all that. You know, a lot of people look at you like you're nuts. You know, I'm also a single parent. You know, talking about things like, you know, seeing aliens, you get funny looks.
Yeah.
And it can be scary, you know, what kind of repercussions could come at me because I talk about these things.
Yeah.
Because people have so many preconceived notions that many of which are false. And we want to start breaking down those walls as a group so people aren't so stereotyped for having these experiences.
Do you think you're being well received?
It's a brand new part of our program. I think, you know, the people that we've talked to about, you know, branching it out and bringing more awareness, I think, you know, we're going to have some positive.
Yeah, we did an
feedback.
event last year that wasn't a paranormal-based event. We just got a table and kind of sat out there, and about 5,000 people came through this event, and it was a good observation for us to just kind of people watch and see what type of reactions we got.
That was at the air show, right?
Yes.
In
Yes.
The air show?
Rochester.
Rochester, yeah.
On Rochester, okay. I was looking at your website and I looked at the different articles that you had posted, and from New Hampshire Magazine, that was a really good article that was written. There were some pictures there that were being taken by David and I think it was Wendy Mendelssohn. What were those being used for? They weren't doing a movie, but it had to do with the Betty and Barney Hill abduction.
I
You
think
don't
they were
recall?
just recreating a scene for something. I'm not sure. A lot of that article was through Dean Merchant, who's a great guy, and we can't speak highly enough about. And he kind of threw our name out to them, so...
Oh, cool. He's going to be coming on the show, too.
Oh, great.
But it wasn't clear in the article why they were taking the pictures and reenacting the Betty and Barney Hill. If it was for, you know, a short video clip or for a feature film or for a story.
Yeah, that was right around September. We had been
Right, it was
involved
September
with
24th,
a couple different paranormal type fairs at the time, and we had articles coming out left and right. We couldn't even keep up with them all. There's probably some we
Yeah.
missed.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 on the site.
Yeah.
All interesting stuff. And also, too, the ones that, the TV show with Tom Spitaleri, New England Ghost Project, that is a really good video. More
thank
people
you.
should watch that. You should put a link on.
I think we're working on it.
Okay, good. Yeah, because it's very interesting.
Yeah, we're working on overhauling our website, I think, fairly soon.
Cool. So maybe you want to give out your website and how people can get in touch with you and when the program or when you have your meetings, when you hold the meetings.
The website is Seacoast Saucers of New England, or just Seacoast Saucers?
Seacoast Saucers.
Sorry. SeacoastSaucers.com. You can reach us through the website. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of any of us, is through the website contact page.
Either that or through our Facebook, which is just Seacoast Saucers of New England, maybe. Oh, yeah. It's Seacoast Saucers of New England, or just Seacoast Saucers.
And
right,
and through the meetups.
Yes,
Yeah.
meetup.com is a great place to find us as well, and you can find all of our events on there.
Okay.
And speaking of events, what do you have coming up? Maybe something in April?
Oh, there might be a little event in April.
Oh, yeah.
Parafest?
Yeah.
The
I have
new-
to public speak, so I'm
The
a
new,
little nervous
the
about
New
that.
England Parafest 2016
Yep.
at the Ashworth Hotel, where Val and Mike and Chuck, right,
Yes.
will be speakers, along with many other great
Many other New England
that we
speakers,
have
yeah.
mentioned, like Steve Fermani
Mm-hmm.
will be there. Somebody,
Yeah, Jeremy Dodgemont, Paul and Ben Eno, someone Willie Hassell, and
Shane
somebody
Sawar.
Shane Sawar.
Yeah, somebody named Hassell and Lynn somebody.
Yeah,
Yep.
Those crazy spirit chaser people.
yeah, those weirdos.
Val, it's a little off this topic, but also you have a couple of books out if you want to tell people where they can get them.
Yes, I do. They're Tangled Web of Friends, books 1 and 2. They are available on barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. And book number 3 is being edited right now.
Fabulous. We look forward to that.
Thank you.
So you have to come back and talk to us about
I
that.
would be happy to.
All right.
All right. Well, we thank you both very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
It's been
And
a
we
pleasure.
are out of time once again. Craig Mosier and the Graveyard Shift are coming up in just a couple minutes.
And that's the end of our show. Hope everybody has a good evening, and thank you for listening.